And welcome back, everybody, to the Gears Fall Major. I'm Taylor Reflections, Noble, joined by Jordan Roots Ribeiro and Ryan Full Summers. We're heading into round 4, and we've got a great match here. Noble will be playing against Elevate. It's going to be tough. I did make an error before. Elevate did, in fact, win that map number 5 against Fury 1. I apologize not only to them, but also Hunter, because I threw him underneath the bus. All right, it was my fault. I'm an idiot. It is what it is. Hey, check it out. Noble, Elevate, it's going to be a great one. Ribs, what are we expecting in the series?
Well, Noble is a team that we gave them their own graphic early on today. This is a team that's been in the grand finals multiple times. This is, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, the best Latin American team in Gears Esports. I don't think they're going to drop to another Latin American team. Definitely not Elevate, maybe like Rebel or the Knights down the line. That being said, Elevate had a tough win just now. I say tough win. It came down to round 11, map 5 against a team that they probably slept on. Maybe that was a type of match that kind of gets them going. And now they're moving into a match they know they can't play bad. And we've already seen an upset today and almost 2 upsets today. So you never know in Gears Esports. But Noble's looking mighty fine coming into this matchup.
Well, Ryan, we've been talking about Noble knocking on the door of a victory. Toti hungry for a win. The entire roster, let's not kid ourselves. Let's talk about them because Noble is a team that is personally my favorite. I know they're strong, and Rib said it best, right? Noble doesn't want to lose to anybody, and they dang for sure do not want to lose to another Latin American team.
Yeah, there's always that much more fire, right? When the two teams from the Latin American region play, you see a lot more trash talk. The losing team always has to go to Twitter. It's just by law this time. The losing team runs to Twitter ASAP and starts going off, and they start arguing. It's a great time every single time. Everyone gives it their all. A very passionate match, and I'm sure we're going to see that here. But this Noble team is obviously so strong, man, top to bottom. They have Dyslexic, who is just such a talented player. He's really come alive these past, I would say, 6 or so months with this Noble team, and they've really got another one of those teams, right, who's just very, very well-rounded top to bottom. You have incredible slayers in Dyslexic and Fearzly. You have Xploidz, who's, like I said, probably the best sniper in the game at this point. And then you have Toti, one of those guys who's just another Swiss Army knife. He does it all, very, very good in support, can win you a bunch of shotgun fights. I mean, he's really all over the map, putting in damage, winning his fights. This is a very, very well-rounded team. There's a reason why they've been to so many grand finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Most well-rounded team, at least for Latin America. As far as I'm concerned, everybody has their own opinion. Now, as I said, it does take 2 to tango. Let's talk about the other roster, Elevate, who we have seen at least once today. We're going to get to see him again. Gary, Addvers, Kardia, and Pushyz. Still a talented roster, a roster that was making big waves at the beginning of Pro League, started to taper off, but they did get that victory. But Ribs, as you said, it was a close one, but maybe, like you also mentioned, it has the effect of maybe waking them up.
Yeah, it's like we talked about earlier. Win or lose, I mean, you come down, it's an extremely close match. You learn a lot from it. And then you get the W. I mean, it's a tough win, but it's a win. So I'm looking at Pushyz and Gary to make sure that they're slaying out the way that they did throughout Pro League. I'm looking at Addvers to kind of come back into his King Addvers forms. I don't know if many people called him King Addvers or was it King Choche, but I know he's one of the most well-renowned players in Latin America. And then of course Kardia, still in my eyes, one of those young players that still has a lot to prove. But yeah, I mean, we've already seen it today. Upsets are possible, especially here on day number 1. Some players just still aren't firing on all cylinders. I mean, I'd love to see another upset here. I just really don't see it happening against a team as strong as Noble.
I don't either, and it would raise a lot of questions. This would be a massive upset, much like I was saying if Oxygen beat Pioneers, despite these guys being good rosters, okay? There's just certain rosters that are outliers. You know, there's a big difference from top 4 than I think even going from 5 to 8 and then so on and so forth. You see a big gap, a big distinction. As Blaze always says, Ryan, there's levels to this. And speaking of levels, Fearzly is on a different level of his own. We talk a lot about Xploidz. We talk a lot about Toti and Dyslexic, but Fearzly puts in a ton of work in his stats. Prove it.
Yeah, absolutely. Fearzly is just such a talented player, and the numbers do really speak for themselves, right? Top 4 in KDA, top 7 in damage per respawn. He is one of those guys who is just absolutely a unit beast, whatever word you want to put on it. In those individual fights, he is just so hard to stop. He plays so aggressively, catches players off guard, so good around cover. Just one of those guys, man, who can pop off for that 2-piece, 3-piece at any time. He's a big reason why this team is so strong.
And can we talk about how handsome this guy is? Fearzly, sheesh, bro. This guy's looking good. Hey, bro, he looks good not only in the picture, but also on the battlefield. Let me take a step back before I get too carried away. But hey, every once in a while, you just got to give some praise where praise is due. Okay, Ribs, Rhino was hyping you up at the beginning of the show. Now it's time for me to hype up somebody else. It's going to be a good series. Fearzly is going to be instrumental in that victory. But Ribs, let's move into the maps that we will be seeing, the pick and bans. And, you know, for Noble, I think they're going to be a favorite on quite a few of them. But Checkout is one they've definitely struggled on. So if we get to that map 5, Elevate might be a contender.
Yeah, and I like that first pick, Speyer. We've seen Elevate throughout Pro League go towards that Speyer control, probably one of our least played control maps. We also do know that Noble's very strong on pretty much any control that we see. But once again, I always say that first map, extremely important when you're going against one of these top hitters, Noble being one of them. Then we go on to Clocktower, Noble's pick. Third map will be Vasgar Escalation, onto Regency Control. And if we get there, we've already got a few map 5s today, it would be that Checkout Execution. Definitely a pretty standard cycle here outside of that Speyer, in my opinion.
Pretty standard. Ryan, is it going to be a standard cleanup though for Noble, or do you think Elevate's going to look stronger on certain maps?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how map number 1 goes. Obviously, we all know how strong Noble is on Vasgar, for example. So I do think this series, to me, definitely comes down to map 1 for Elevate. I think they need to get out with a victory if they're going to have a chance in this series. Otherwise, I do think if they drop that map, man, that Clocktower execution is going to be a tough win, and that Vasgar escalation might even be a tougher win. So to me, I think the kind of the X factor for Elevate falls in that Speyer.
I agree with you. I really do. Clocktower, as you mentioned, Noble is just lights out there. Xploidz, we talked about his sniper abilities. He's going to be dangerous. Dyslexic isn't shy about playing for nades or playing on the flank. So there's a lot of X factors for Noble on that map. Vasgar, Noble's always been good there, even when they were back, as Fire and Ice. So they continue to be excellent on Vasgar. Slaying power and just their overall ability to be able to react is great. But yeah, Speyer is an interesting one. Elevate has been picking Speyer for quite some time. That's kind of their home turf, if you will. Some teams like Regency, some teams have been going to Ritual, but Speyer has been Elevate's bread and butter. And it's funny because Noble used to struggle on that map, and then they started picking it throughout Pro League. They started picking it in E-Days, and they did that to get better. It's kind of the same thing with Regency, which has, been a map that they not necessarily struggle on, but we know they lost a major with that. So regardless, though, Speyer is a map that I think Noble has definitely grinded at, and you got to do that, Ribs, right? You have to do that. If you have yourself a map that you're struggling on, you just got to grind it and get better and better at it, even if you have to play Pro League with it.
Yeah, and I love that about Noble. That's just goes to show you what type of roster they are. They're never satisfied. They're always trying to get better. If they do have a weak point, they immediately address it. And that's what you have to do. If you want to be a top team, especially with the 3 different game types in Gears Esports nowadays, you have to have a deep map pool. We see it with KCP. We see it nowadays with Rise, picking execution canals and, just trying to be able to use all their different advantages to their advantage. And at this point in time, I don't think there are many weak points for a team like Noble. I don't think there's any map where I'm like, oh, they just suck at that map. Absolutely not. They're good at every game type. Right. They're good in most situations. They're good with every power weapon. And the only thing that they haven't done yet when it comes to Gears Esports is win a championship. So that's what they're here to do this weekend. And you have to start early with pool play. This is their first test, and they don't plan on failing it.
It is their first test. When we broke down the pools, Ryan, there was always 2 outlier teams. And at least when it comes to Pool B, obviously it's Noble and Elevate who are the outliers, the favorites, if you were coming into it. Elevate did beat Fury 1 Esports. Granted, went to map 5. It was close, but that's still a W, which means they're that much closer to avoiding being fully eliminated and obviously not seeing a continuation onto the championship bracket on Saturday. So I ask you this, going into it, Elevate knows they're the underdogs, but what does the series mean to them?
I think to me, this is going to be the sort of the measuring stick for this Elevate team for the rest of their tournament. I think that you saw them go all the way down to the wire with a challenger team that I'm sure they feel they're much better than. So I want to see them have a competitive series against Noble. I don't think this Elevate team can beat Noble, but I think if they can make this a competitive series, a close series, kind of similar to what we saw with Oxygen and the Pioneers, that's a much better sign. But if you go down to the wire, Game 5, final round with the challenger team, and then just get wiped off the map by Noble, that to me is where the red flags start to raise. So I'm curious to see kind of how Elevate comes out. Can they win that map 1 right on their map pick? Like you said, that's their home turf. That's their place. If they can win that map against a top team, that to me is a much better sign. But if they get wiped off the map here, I'll be a little concerned.
Yeah, Kardia, Addvers, Gary, and Pushyz, a lot of star-studded members on that roster, talent across the board, Ribs. Who do you feel needs to really step it up? You had a chance to watch them earlier in the day, had a chance to kind of digest the way that they were playing, the way that they were looking. Was there anybody that was standing out to you that maybe looked a bit lackluster that needs to step it up in this series?
Well, I'm always looking at Gary because throughout Pro League, he has had some of the best plays on this Elevate roster. I think Addvers will be their glue. I think he's a player that kind of has to meet the level of productivity that we're going to see from Toti, right? Like Toti, whenever he's on the map, if he's using a power weapon, if he's using a support weapon, he's very accurate. He's always at the right place at the right time. We need to see that from Addvers. And like I said earlier, I need to see Gary step it up on the slang. He's always making those big plays, but it needs to be consistent throughout the entire cycle, not just here and there, very spotty type of plays.
All right, well, let's start our predictions, guys. Once again, it seems as if we're really not on the fence here, but we still got to back a horse in this race regardless. For me, it's apparent I'm going with Noble. Noble is the favorite. I would put Noble as a team that is, has a great chance to make it into grand finals. They are hungry for a victory, and again, they don't like to lose to anybody, let alone a Latin American team. They're my favorite. Ribs, who are you going with?
Well, I'm definitely going to go with Noble, but as I said before, Pushyz, Gary, I need to see some high-flying plays out of you guys. I'm hoping to get some highlights. If you could take a couple maps and make it interesting, please go for it. But Noble is one of the best teams for a reason. 8-1 in Pro League. I don't think they're going to lose this match. Not today.
All right, Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, like I said, I'm also going to go with Noble. I don't think this is a match that I see Elevate winning, but I am with Jordan. I would like to see them show a lot more signs of life than they showed in their prior match. That was their first match of the event. All kinds of jitter, you know how that goes, right? All kinds of things can happen in the first match of the tournament. So I'm looking forward to seeing a hopeful bounce back from Elevate. But at the end of the day, Noble's just too strong.
Too strong indeed, but if Elevate can put up a good fight, like you said, Ryan, right, that would favor them and give them newfound confidence heading into tomorrow, because right now I do believe they should be avoiding being eliminated, but you never know how the polls are going to play out regardless. To call the action is going to be another great duo. For the first time today is going to be Jacob and Toby. These guys are going to kill it without question, so Jacob and Toby, take it away.
No, thank you. And honestly, what a fantastic breakdown from the Hall of Fame analyst desk, if I say so myself. Jacob PR here, and joined with Toby. Toby, you got to cast a great match, so hopefully you save some energy from this one right before us. We have a fantastic cycle of maps ahead of us. And Toby, how are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Honestly, earlier I expected a very quick 3-0 in the matchup, but then it went to map 5 somehow. So honestly, at this point, I don't know what to expect. But yeah, the analysts really summed it up quite well, I think. Again, could this be an underdog story? I'm less convinced than earlier, just because, as the guys said, Noble have been absolutely incredible this split and have carried on so well since a really good major last time.
Yeah, and honestly, Elevate, they had such a fantastic start to the split. I think they took teams by storm, surprising them left and right. But since that fantastic start, I think a lot of teams have caught on to their tricks. I just hope for this event, they have saved it for a big matchup like this, going up against Noble, an in-region matchup, and they definitely are going to have their hands full on the side of Elevate, but I always give that any given Sunday style of mentality going into this one. The odds are definitely against them, but at this point, they almost have nothing to lose, so I should feel like there's not too much pressure on them. Like Noble, they have to perform on this one. They're a team looking to create history, taking home the first championship for Latin America, or at least they're hoping so this weekend.
100%. Let's get this started then. For me, PR, I'm not sure how you feel about this one, but the first two maps are absolutely crucial for Elevate. The two best maps, in my opinion, in the entire series for them, perhaps into the entire game for this particular matchup. But even then, it's going to be tough, isn't it? Noble lighting up the kill feed in blue already. A full team wipe already stretching the legs, looking for that drop shot pickup.
Yeah, I think our analyst said perfect. Against a team like Elevate, I know there's a few others you can kind of match up with it, but you have to start early and you have to start hot. But it's Noble who get 4 dead. They get Kardia down. Great frag grenades from Fearzly, the player to watch, and 2 players are out. They only lose Dyslexic in the fray, and back-to-back squad wipes from Noble, who are getting off to an early and dominant start to this matchup. So I'm really looking at Elevate. I'm looking at Addvers, mostly the leader, the most experienced seasoned player, to really find a way to get his team back into this one.
Absolutely. It's going to take all the confidence in the world now because you started off on the back foot as well. Noble are literally running into spawns as it stands now, looking for the kills. Half of the team staying back on the hill for the remaining 20 points, but they maintain the map control, right? They've got a clear view of the rest of Speyer, and they're going to be rotating soon for that next hill.
You can already see the setup coming through from Elevate, and this is a much needed setup for them because in order to play this teeter-totter, in order to come back down 49-3, you almost need to hold the majority of this hill because there's 75 seconds. Everybody knows you have to rotate a little bit early. Drop shot coming in from Xploidz, times it perfectly, catching 2 players off guard who are trying to dish out that support fire. They're going to bleed out Kardia, stagger out that death, and attack Pushyz, so that way they can keep their man advantage intact here. So Pushy's goal should be able to buy as much time as possible. The reinforcements are there, just not in time, and Toti gets 2, and Xploidz is going to clean up another one, so in third opportunity to stagger out players as Noble strike first onto the second hill.
An absolute slaughterhouse right now from Noble. It is absolutely clinical from them. Double kill after double kill, and just breaking through that initial setup from Elevate like it was nothing. And now Elevate once again on the back foot. Look at Noble though. They're not resting on the laurels. They're still pushing, wrapping around the map. Map control is right in front of them, and they're going to try and push off Pushyz right on this staircase. Full red is Pushyz getting angled out from the hill even. And Elevate, they're essentially locked out. And this is the difficult part of Speyer. It reminds me of Training Grounds control in a way. The map, of course, that it essentially replaced, in that it's so open in the middle area that if you do get locked out of the map or sat and then pushed back from the center line, it can be so punishing. And now Noble have extended that map control all the way out and trapped Elevate onto that next hill.
Yeah, it can be exhausting as well, so you have to have that composure, that endurance to outlast what could be possible failed attempts as they go back-to-back being shut down by Noble. But third time is definitely the charm, and you can kind of see it when they were gathering up the points on the side of Noble. Multiple players waiting on that drop shot to come through. One of them was going to be Addvers, so he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders here to not only come through, but execute to perfection with that drop shot, because we see time and time again throughout the Pro League, missed opportunities with that drop shot, and there goes that first one, and he doesn't connect with a shot. Kardia is going to go down. Fearzly, that player to watch, constantly being a thorn in the sign, and Toti and Fearzly taking out both Addvers and Fearzly. And so that's going to be a big defeat, as it looks like a missed drop shot is going to be the cause of it all.
And right now, Noble are just looking absolutely killer. It seems like they step anywhere near a hill or a defense, Jacob, and then they just get a team wipe instantly. Like it's nothing. Like they're playing ranked or something as a stack team. It's absurd right now what they're doing, and it reflects in the scoreline. They're making it look so easy. Dyslexic, great discipline from him there, rolling back, not switching to his Nasher. As confident as they might be, they still want to play textbook gears, and honestly, they're flawless right now. It's so hard to criticize them.
Yeah, you kind of said it before. Player getting soloed, downed out. I think that might have been Addvers. Gary again getting soloed and downed out. Luckily for Pushyz, he was able to get one, but Toti just vanishes him to the Shadow Realm as he just makes quick work. Now Addvers is getting spotted out. Luckily for him, he does have some backup with Gary towards the back line, but the hill is going to be towards the neutral hill. This fight for the high ground is going to be important, and Noble has full control. They're dishing out the damage. They're pushing the players of Elevate back, and they're just not giving up. A big flank opportunity to come through. Kardia takes out Dyslexic over on one side of the map, but Xploidz takes himself out trying to catch Pushyz. So everything's going to come down to trades back and forth, and now all this action, while all this chaos is going down, the hill will still be contested, which is great for Noble and just detrimental for Elevate.
Yeah, meanwhile, Fearzly has held the drop shot this entire time. Potential double, actually, over on the right, but he can't see that quite as he doesn't have the extra vision that spectators do have. Meanwhile, it doesn't even matter. Dyslexic will push in and get one trade of a kill. Toti following up to find yet another. And now, again, Noble will just rain in on the points and reach 200 likely before Elevate can even reach anywhere near 50. And to give some background to this, Jacob, it's significant. Yes, it's a practice map for Noble, but last time they only won by, I want to say, 16 points, actually. And so, against Elevate on this very map. And so for them to be dominating in such fashion, they've even massively improved so far based on the scoreline from their last Pro League match, despite them winning 3-1 there.
And you can already see their teamwork is on point. Drop shot to take out Addvers, stopping the aggression coming out from Elevate. They have an uncontested angle towards the top. Back-to-back eliminations for Fearzly as he continues to dominate the scene. And that's something that we really talked about during Pro League. Is throughout the course of this team's history, Toti and Dyslexic, the 1-2 combo, getting all the shine, even Xploidz coming through. But Fearzly has resurgence and really cemented himself as a slayer and a player to watch out for the team, which is really, really dangerous because you have too many people to watch out for on Noble as they continuously are swarming and suffocating the players of Elevate out of each and every one of these hills.
Yeah, dare you say underrated, right? When you describe Fearzly, it's just that he's been overshadowed in a way similar to how Kenny has been for many years with the United, right? When formerly with Explosive and Praised. But it's great to see him, getting some recollection. Player to watch definitely for this matchup. He's used the drop shot a number of times now, and he's just a crucial team member for this roster. And honestly, Noble are going to need it to try and take down KCP. But so far, Jacob, I am super impressed with how they're playing.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this warm-up match by any means because we know what happens if you come in last into that pool play. It's no time to warm up at all. Friday, the tournament began, but it just seems like Noble are just firing on all cylinders. Elevate already with a big loss underneath their belt. It's almost like a must-win scenario for them. And I know Noble's not going to let it go easy as all 4 members find their way towards the southern portions of the map. They get the drop shot, and they're continuously wolfpacking towards the hill. Unfortunately, Pushyz finds one player slipping. Revive is almost instantaneous, which is going to allow them to be successful in that exchange, cement themselves back towards the hill, and have this drop shot waiting in the wings for any player trying or even daring enough to make a push.
Really, Noble are just giving everyone a lesson right now as to how to play control. They've dominated map control in a sense. They're always pushing that out on this top staircase to see to gather the angles. They're always getting the drop shot. They're always attacking and defending perfectly. They're always deathballing when appropriate and using the numbers advantage, but they're also not afraid to sit back and use the lancers as well. Everything is just firing on all cylinders, and it seems like feels like they've even got like an extra man right now, Jacob, because the teamwork is that on point. They're always together. They're always present to try and clutch up when ever necessary, and again reflects in this scoreline. Noble now trying to get back into this hill. Frag grenades thrown in. There's the power weapons once more. Toti will find Addvers. Potential 2v1 coming in here on the pinch on Pushyz. A Noble coming off respawn now, causing all kinds of issues right now for Kardia and Gary.
Yeah, you had to give it. I don't know who it was exactly. I know Fearzly was one of them, possibly Dyslexic or Xploidz as well. But you can kind of see the way they separated from one another. They trusted the drop shot player to hold down the angle. The rest of the 2 anchored themselves in towards spawn. So even though they did lose that battle on towards the hill, they didn't lose that overall war. And Xploidz finds another player slipping. 2 more downs that are going to be staggered out. And look, as soon as they find and solidify those eliminations, they disperse outward, trying to play for the next hill and trying to find out where that rotation is going to come in. And Kardia captures one slipping, has another one set in mind, but they go ahead and use their numbers on the side of Noble to keep the advantage in their hands.
Yep, shotgun fight still raining on through for Noble and still being successful. They got the frag grenades as soon as they popped up as well, and now ready to make the play onto the next point. Here come the players off spawn. Dyslexic still just trying to hold his ground. Nades being thrown in. That first one will not connect. But the next hill is right in front of them. They've got the angle set up, have Noble, but no. Addvers will throw himself on through and find the kill on Fearzly. Xploidz getting caught out as well. Elevate gaining a little bit of steam now, getting some kills, but Noble not out with this yet for sure on this play.
Yeah, Noble just complete control of the matchup in terms of personnel, in terms of weapons, in terms of overall score. It's like they have no fear. It's almost like they can do no wrong here in a lot of these situations. As Elevate has to dig deep. Only 26 points remaining for Noble. Over 100 plus, almost 200, but they did chip it down on the side of Elevate, so almost has to play as close to perfection as possible. But you can kind of see already on your mini-map, Noble, they want to find an opening pick first before they push forward, especially since they know Dyslexic has to be dead to rights. They find that first one on a Dyslexic, traded out as he does fall. Toti with that drop shot in hands could be a huge stop here as he takes out Kardia as well. That gives them the number advantage, an opportunity to swarm, and they do. They suffocate the remaining members. So now Elevate, they're forced into desperation mode. Solo players have to make heroic plays.
Secret man for Gary. Xploidz not going to see him. Gary will get the up A, but he's still on his own though. He can only get the 1 kill before he will fall. The rest of the Elevate members will not be close enough to help. And meanwhile, Toti will get back to full health. 298. Elevate will break for now, but how long can they hold this on for?
Yeah, they have to be in the hill every second of the way. Even when they try to backtrack, Kardia's staying alive here. He's going to hop out of the hill for a second. Geary takes it on the other end, but he knows he's outmatched. He knows Noble's too much. 300 points have been achieved. Noble, without a shadow of a doubt, take map number 1 and a series lead over Elevate.
And thoroughly deserved at that as well. You don't even need to look at the stats, honestly. Just qualitatively, just on your screen, you could see how perfect it was from the get-go. Of course, all players are positive KD for them. Toti actually 12-3 in the end, what seemed like a very, very quick control to start us off, and perhaps a sign of things to come. Honestly, that was probably, definitely actually on paper, the favorite map for Elevate to try and take against Noble on paper, especially in this series, because you've got a fourth map. If we do see it, I'm not sure if we will, but if we do see it, we have Regency, and Noble are literally flawless in Pro League on this map. They have not lost on it. So, hey, it's not looking good for Elevate at this point in time. Let's see if they can do better on Clocktower.
Yeah, I think that if you saw that last one, it was a very, very slow start and a very, very slow finish as well overall for Elevate. They had so many different opportunities. They had drop shot pickups. It's just, Noble was just too much. They suffocated. They played into Wolfpack scenario time and time again. And even in moments like this to where they were able to get an advantage, it was only short-lived before Noble was able to overthrow in multiple occasions. And I gotta say, the power weapon usage added on top of that, from frag grenades to drop shot, it was Noble who was executing every time they had it into his hands, and just a bunch of missed opportunities on the other side from Elevate.
Yeah, and there was just no weak areas, was there? Like, really, they were getting double kill after double kill. The Nasher fights always went their way, it seemed like. Every time you switched to their player point of view, they were revived in areas where you didn't feel like was even possible, right? Fearzly somehow 4-red and still survived there. The drop shot usage was excellent. And everything was just working out so well for them. Honestly, it was picture perfect and so impressive from Noble. And yeah, the replays will show it, but Clocktower execution, I mean, it's going to be a very, very tough time for Elevate, I'm sure. But hey, I mentioned it's the first two maps. They're a really big deal for Elevate because last time in the last Pro League match when these two faced off, Elevate actually won. They won 6-4 against Noble on this particular map. And that's why I'm so surprised that Noble even picked Clocktower execution, to be honest. I'm really surprised that they picked it. But there you go. I mean, they're not particularly strong at any particular execution map, but perhaps not playing Clocktower execution against Elevate. Perhaps it's more of a bit of a revenge story for them, I guess, to try and take it to them and beat them on Clocktower after losing last time.
It could also be preparation for what is to come, because a lot of teams do pick Clocktower as their kind of go-to map on execution. Sometimes we see Tomb and Checkout in here, which is also in the cycle towards the tail end. And for Elevate, this might be that kind of moment for them that they absolutely need. They got suffocated on control. They got staggered out more times than not. It almost looked like a 5v3 in some scenarios with Noble and the way they just dominated the scene. So coming into this next map, I need Elevate just to take a short breath. Have a moment to breathe here because it's not over just yet. You're going to go into a round-based game mode. You can really throw out strategy after strategy to where if you lose a round, you can easily shake it off and start fresh, unlike in that control game to where you're just spawning up outside of the map and you're hoping your teammates aren't staggering their deaths. So this is, in my thought, best case scenario Clocktower. I would like to see Checkout here for Elevate in this one, but it is in the cycle as well. So if you do force a map number 5, you do get that one either way.
Yeah, and I'm not too concerned actually with Clocktower for Elevate in particular. I'm quite happy, if anything, because they are 2-0 in the Pro League. Elevate, they haven't lost on this map in Pro League. Meanwhile, Noble are 1-2. They're 1 win, 2 loss in Pro League matches alone this split. So on paper, this is a good map for Elevate, especially Clocktower on that scrappy nature as I was describing earlier in the FNI EU game. Perhaps this will help them, you know, break up the structure a little bit, and the teamwork of Noble. We'll have to wait and see how this one pans out.
Ooh, big flank to start us off, but it's spotted out from a mile away. They smelled him coming, and they immediately took him out. Fearzly probably smelling the fear like Jeepers Creepers, and Gary gets a team down even to come through. Things are just falling right before their eyes on the side of Elevate, and nobody even given an inch to work with. And I don't think they're going to show Pushyz any other difference here. And we kind of know that's been setting the tone and the pace for almost every execution map. These moments to really just assert your dominance over your opponent.
It's almost like instinct that they just turned around there,
right?
Like as one single unit. That was scary, and I'm a caster. I'm not even playing, and I just see the player point of view from the flank. It's like, oh, they know they're being flanked, and they just turn around and laser instantly. That was so impressive. And again, Jacob, they didn't lose a player in that entire process. They just sweep through the round like it was nothing. And so Elevate will definitely be thinking again about that flank and whether it's even possible. Addvers this time actually going for the nades to change it up.
Toti, it's Toti. The way Toti is angling his camera, he sees down low almost instantly and knows those frag grenades are being picked up. First one is going to be a dud, but they're able to get first blood anyway. But Noble pushes forward, bypassing those frag grenades to get the eliminations, and it works out for them. 3 players done and dusted. 1v3 scenario for Addvers, and he falls in the same spot he did last round when he tried to go for that flank. 2-0, Noble up over Elevate. So I gotta ask you, with Addvers going down low 2 back-to-back rounds, unsuccessful at that, do you want to see a switch up? If so, what do you want to see?
Yeah, at this point, I just want to see them do 4 up top, and I think that would have been the best bet anyway, before even getting into this game, just to do 4 up top. Play it as slow as you need to, play it as fast as you want to, play for that snipe, but I feel as though that just sticking together at this point against this Noble squad is probably the best bet, because their teamwork on map 1, and now especially in these last 2 rounds of turning around, spotting the flanks, as you said, panning the camera down to check the nade pickup, it's been too good from Noble. They're reading it too well, and I think Elevate at this point just need to go back to basics and stick to what they know and play together.
See if they're going to take a page out of the Toby Campbell playbook. No, they are not. So hopefully they do something at least different. Allow Addvers to backtrack those frags, but he's going to do something very, very similar. He gets the mark. He gets the information from his team. First grenade's going to be tossed up, and it's going to be a dud yet again. Dyslexic goes down, though. Finally, the revives are going to be intact. As long as they can stay alive, it'll be good, but they're falling. They're not allowing Addvers to complete his flank, and he only gets it down, unable to execute that player. So Noble will survive, and they will thrive in a 3v2 scenario. Make it 3v1 possibility with a down coming through. A missed sniper is going to allow those 2 players to continue living, but there's no frags. There's no hope down there for these players, so it's going to come through brute force and determination if they want to win this round.
So true. Xploidz with the Superman, with the snipe. Can he get the double? No, he cannot. The down will come through too quick for him to even shoot. 3-0 already for Noble. And again, another reason why you don't play 1 player down bottom. You don't want Xploidz getting the snipe in response. That's what you do not want happening ever, regardless of the team that you are playing against Noble right now. And this is the difficult part of actually playing that 1 low when you do go for those frags. You're going all in essentially on those frags actually connecting, right? The first one being a dud, and then the second one really not doing anything. Left them so much time, Noble, where they can just turn around. Xploidz can just use the snipe when he wants. Everyone can just push across and have a 4v3, and it's just buying so much time for Noble to leverage this teamwork and this skill that they're known for. While Elevate are just a man down. It's not working, Jacob. I really hope we don't see it again. The frag grenade strat thrown it up top, but looks like Addvers, it's his and his team's base strat, and they're actually matched them this time, Noble.
Yeah, Dyslexic wants to fight this time around. He said, I'm done letting my teammates do everything. First down's going to come through. Dyslexic knows he cannot risk his life going for that elimination. He's just going to sit back, pistol it. The rest of Elevate have to go forward. They have to take their 3v3 while they can. But Noble sees it coming from a mile away. Backtracks out of that fight, but Xploidz did not get the memo. He overstays. He gets taken down. And so does Dyslexic. Both of these players are just feeling themselves in this situation. They're forgetting the fundamentals, and it might cost them this round.
Yeah, 3v1. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Noble just let off the gas in that round because, I mean, why would you go down bottom at this point? I mean, it makes no sense to me. Why are you changing the strat? Why are you doing anything when Elevate essentially giving you that 4v3 up top every round for a free round? Instead, they just have a 1v for some reason. Despite winning that, I guess it changed the structure up top a little bit too much, leaving Elevate free to run through. So yeah, I'm surprised that Noble actually went for that, but they clearly are very confident and they probably are very much feeling themselves here for a very quick 3-0 with how they're playing. They have changed things back to normal. They are doing 4 up top. You can see Toti spotting the flank. Look at this, just ready to light up on Addvers, but can Addvers do anything different? He can get the down. Yes, he gets the kill as well. 2v2, and now Elevate have pushed over across.
Man, he's really trying. Addvers is really trying. I don't know what the communication is. I don't know what the call is. But Toti's the all-seeing eye. That man plays the support spot, the IGL, the host spot like anybody else. And he plays it better. In fact, he's just spotting them out from everything. He throws the smoke and immediately calls out for his teams to stop Addvers. Unfortunately, he did get taken down, but the goal was still there, and the plan and the entire team be able to turn and burn to take him out. So Noble is consistently at least one step ahead of this Elevate squad.
And that's why it's called the host spot, right? You can just control and dominate from that position. And Toti's literally like, yep, we're being flanked again. I'm just going to turn around. Could someone flank him? Yep, do that. And then easy, right? Simple from there. 4v4 now, though. Back to it. 4-1 in favor of Noble. It's a 4 up top. Addvers again, super aggressive, trying to make it happen just all on his own. And instantly destroyed with Lancers there. And now bringing it down to a 4v3. And Elevate again on the back foot with not many options.
4v3 here, and this is where Noble, they can sit pretty, man. They don't have too much, or if at all any utility. Only Xploidz has 1, and on the side of Elevate they do have 2. So it's just about trying to figure out which situation you are comfortable with. If anybody kind of oversteps on the side of Elevate, any extra damage, because as soon as Toti in this situation, for example, he gets the amount of damage he feels comfortable, he's going to call it out to his teammates. 2 players are going to push up just in case they need a revive. They're going to have Toti putting out that Lancer Fire, maybe a flex player as Xploidz goes for that sniper. Nobody can stop him on the side of Elevate, especially if you're dead. 3 down, 3 out, 5-1, commanding lead for Noble.
I mean, just get out the microscope of that play. I mean, you just saw 2 players just continually just light up the back of one player, getting just a little bit red. Then as soon as he moves, just in fear of being pushed, he instantly just gets dropped. The Noble push through. That was so nice to see. What a great play that was in that 4v3 situation. Gears Esports at its finest. And now Noble 5-1 up. Jacob, and the concerning thing for me is, I mean, Elevate haven't had a single round where they've just played a simple base strat and played passive. Everything has been them trying to be proactive, and it's just not worked out. And it's a missed opportunity for me, and they've gone back to it. They're going to try and throw the frags up top. 4v3 sniper has been lost. Let's see if they can make anything of it.
Yep, Explosions is coming too late. They're just not backing out. They're not playing to the strat. They're just hoping there's some wonder grenades, and they're even going to concede for it. As Addvers just giving up his life, Noble will dominate Clocktower map number 2, 6-1, and go up 2-0 in a commanding series over Elevate, a team that started off the season hot. They started off the season early, taking over teams by storm, but since then, it's been all flat all the way. Is going to
absolutely
be
so. What a stunning performance though to Noble. You gotta admit that we had lots of criticisms for the roster, of course, of Elevate, but Noble, the stats, they do not lie. Well played indeed.
You see a big score line. Noble 2-0 over Elevate. Can they make a historic comeback? Find out after this quick commercial break. And we're back, and if you guys were living under a rock, if you guys thought you had a long time between matches, thinking you'd see a series, man, you might have thought wrong. Elevate woke up on the wrong side of whatever they slept on last night. I can't say it's a bed because there was no comfortability in these last 2 maps. Complete and utter destruction coming through from Noble, as these replays will kind of show you. And this is one of those rounds, Toby, just complete and systematic, just taking apart like a surge. And just what do you have to say after these last 2 maps? Because honestly, it's just not much.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Honestly, I just feel like Noble are just playing incredible. They're playing as good as ever. Look at the scores even. Just a brief look and you're like, yep, they're playing well. And also, just to remind everyone, as we see the scores now, last time when they played, it was 300-284 Speyer control, Noble versus Elevate in Pro League, and they lost 6-4, did Noble, on Clocktower last time against Elevate. But here we are, completely flipped in its head. And Noble are playing incredible. Meanwhile, you said it best, Elevate aren't really turning up today as you'd perhaps expect them to based on their Pro League performances. And Elevate need to turn it around as soon as possible. But unfortunately, Vasgar Escalation next. The perhaps nightmare isn't over for them just yet. 4-1 in Pro League are Noble on this particular map. And so, hey, it's a tough journey. It's very, very tough. It's looking difficult for Elevate. Let's see if they can turn it around.
I've been trying to take notes throughout most of the day when matches do come around, things like that. But here's my notes. I got Noble versus Elevate. I got the map cycle, no teamwork. You can't really see it too much, but like, what is Elevate doing on map number 2? Addvers, like, that's the guy I thought all the experience would rely on. I thought if they needed to switch up their strategy, Addvers would make the play. But continuously going down low, throwing the same dud frag grenades, you'd be crazy to think Vasgar would be any different, but we still got to play it out. There's still a small chance. But for Elevate to come back into this one, especially on a map like Vasgar, I don't care if you win round number 1. I don't care if you completely dominate round number 1. Put that big weapon down. Put a focus for your team to fight for, because right now there's no focus, there's no teamwork, and there's just nothing that shows sign of light on the side of Team Elevate.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, usually I criticize teams for not being strategic enough, whether that be with weapon placements or initials and execution. On Clocktower, they did too much. Honestly, they tried quite a few strategies, didn't they? A lot of them involving down bottom and a lot of variety round to round. But hey, just at some point, you do need to just sit back and say, okay, just go back to base. Let's just try and play this out properly and play it slow. You know, slow it down and stop trying to be the star player right on the flank or whatnot. But no, going into Vasgar Escalation, I think you bring up a really good point. I think they need to change it up in a big way on this one because it is so stacked against them, Vasgar Escalation, and simply putting a weapon down and sticking to that as a team to stop this kind of variation and teamwork coming from Noble on the fly, I think is probably quite useful for Elevate at this point. They need that structure. They need to pin everyone down together and see what they can do as a team.
Yep, figure out a way to kind of wolf pack around. Vasgar is one of those maps, you know as well as I do. It's a rotational base map, whether you're going clockwise, counterclockwise, right from the high ground to the low. You need to make sure that every move that you make on the map is for the goal of winning each and every one of these rounds. So if for Elevate, man, you definitely have your work cut out for you. Round number 1, base as can be, possibly split it up into 2-2, maybe even send 3 players over towards your opponent's home hill like we do see the clash on this map. Take control of this match. If you're going to go down, at least go down swinging in this one, as this map is finally going to get underway. The last hope that Elevate has into this series. So if any of you guys are there into the chat and you guys are a fan of Elevate, they need your energy now more than ever.
Well, Jacob, this has been the exact same map pool as they had in their last Pro League match, the exact same order, just with different scores. And last time Noble won 5-1 on Vasgar Escalation. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 5-0, but I'm just hoping that Elevate turn it around and do a little bit better than that. I think they can, honestly. Noble, yes, they're playing extremely well, but Elevate, perhaps you can change our minds and really turn it around and prove that you're coming to the major firing on all cylinders.
As you can see, though, to start this one off, neither team really wanted to make that move. I want to see Elevate, but at the same time, sometimes depending on how you're positioned on one side of the map, Elevate can't necessarily make that move on towards tank. As you see where Xploidz and Toti are set up, they almost have the perfect cross. They have to make sure if they are going to push back, they need to perfectly place utility with the wolf pack just in case to get those revives back up. On the other side of the map, it's almost that same exact thing. Elevate cannot push up to that high ground because they will be stuffed. So it's going to come down to each one of these teams wanting to take the risk mixed to with perfectly placed utility grenades.
Absolutely. Great breakdown. And I mean, the question is, who's going to do it, right? Who's going to light that fire? Looks like Noble is starting to do that. Dyslexic has right hand, so really good use of that for sure. The angles come on through to help him. Immediately pulling back, meanwhile, to his teammate to ensure he's got the support necessary to see this one out. Gary will fall, C-Hill will go towards Noble, and they might even try and step on the throats of Elevate right now and look for that triple.
And doubled up on the points. In fact, even worse, Elevate's not scoring anything at all. 2-1. Noble is in a tough spot. Addvers is getting damaged and pushed out of this positioning. Big flank by Fearzly, though. They're able to take out Kardia, who just got himself an elimination onto Toti. That fight will continue. On the other side of the map, though, Elevate will be successful, alleviating that pressure. And that's why you see Addvers running away, trying to reposition himself, because it's not worth the risk anymore.
No, indeed. Good job, Elevate, to survive that, because Noble will really come in fast and strong from all angles. So really good job there. But the score is going to start building away from them now, and Noble aren't taking any chances. Fearzly running away from tank as fast as he can. Not much damage put his way, and Elevate trying to follow up, but we switch to Gary's point of view. He's being 2v1 on the other end of the map, and Noble looking to continue staggering their opponents.
Like I said, every move has to be for the betterment of the team and winning each and every one of these rounds, and that's why you see Noble extend all the way way over. They got that elimination. A second down to get staggered out in towards the middle. They have a huge lead, so they know they don't have to rush for each and every one of these heals, only when it presents itself, and it presented itself too. And even 2 eliminations at that, as Toti goes back-to-back getting those downs. Dyslexic, easy work onto the home hill to go ahead and solidify that 2-hill capture yet again. And slowly but surely, they're going to make their way over to that neutral hill, but it's just to solidify this victory. They don't need it at all. As you see Dyslexic getting another elimination onto Pushyz, and Noble will strike first. They'll strike fast to win round number 1 and keep control of the series that they're already leading 2-0 in.
Indeed, and honestly, to think that the round started off as slow as it did, Jacob, and then immediately just blew up, and then Noble was just running away with it. It's interesting. It's really cool to see, actually, and great that Escalation offers such a change of pace so rapidly throughout an entire round like that. Really cool to see. As you can see, Dyslexic leading the way 3-1 in the first round. No one positive KD wise for Elevate, and you wouldn't expect so with how rather Noble continued with their slaying dominance there in that first round. Check this for a weapon placement. Wouldn't be surprised if something big goes down. Yep, Tortbow over a tank. This is kind of what we were alluding to, right, Jacob? Agreeing in that weapon placement would be necessary for Elevate to try and change things up on Vasgar and also keep the team in a position to deathball. It's probably best and their strongest position against Noble to see if they can make it happen.
You're gonna go down. You better go down swinging and fighting with every ounce and fiber of your being, and that's why you see an all-out war. 8 players over, 4 from each team onto this initial. The back tank is gonna be occupied by Elevate. They did spot a player trying to be sneaky. That is gonna be Xploidz, and that's why they send Kardia back to go ahead and watch him. But Xploidz, I want to see him put himself in towards that fight. He has the bullet talk, which will definitely pack a punch, but he's playing flex, just like you see Kardia doing, making sure nobody gets that free flank. But I will say the risk is much higher for Noble to go for the flank than it is Elevate, because Kardia has a shorter distance to complete the flank than his opposition does.
Absolutely. Very, very good insight indeed. And it really does change that calculation for these teams, right? Should we do it? Should we not? But here we go. It is starting. Elevate going to fly through the center. Noble instantly lighting up the kill feed in blue, though. 2 kills instantly, essentially. And that will result in them capturing B now. And actually, they're still carrying on. They're still staggering more players. Gary will fall. 1 player left alive, and Noble can very quickly ensure that C Hill is protected and the B Hill captured too.
Kardia was at least trying to do something here, trying to make a play, but he goes down because of it. And I'm not going to say it's going to be a big blunder or a big downfall of the squad, but it all depends on how the rest of the team plays. They need to find time for him to get the revive in and not continue to stagger the deaths. And in fact, it works out really well as Addvers takes down Xploidz and opening up that window of opportunity. Great flash towards the backside. Fearzly peeking out to shoot that Torpo. As he revs up another one, he's just looking for some splash damage here at the top of the cover. Connects with just that onto Pushyz and connects with the torque bow onto Addvers. A 3v3 turned into a 3v2. This is the moment where Noble can now start to get aggressive.
Great stick from Fearzly. 3v3 becomes a 3v2 as quick as that, and they're already going as wide as possible. But no, Fearzly just missing his shot, hitting the vending machine, and he's going to lose his life in the process. But thankfully, his teammates are still going in strong, and they'll get the remaining kills. And some more dancing around corpses, shall we say, for Noble, as they're really flexing their muscles in this one. Looking really, really good, are Noble. And it looks like they could even win a points in this situation.
Get off my battlefield!
I think now, since they reached that 200-point mark before 150 has reached before Elevate, they went off of 1 hill, and they're going ahead and don't even have to turtle onto 1 hill. They're making their home hill of Elevate their own as they dominate 1 player, a trade for another as they continue to hold that positioning on towards the hill. Toti just asserting his dominance, just a few shots left in the shotgun. He gets taken down, but the round will still be solidified by Noble. So even though Elevate did put that big weapon of the torque bow down, they didn't win the crucial fights around it.
No, they didn't. They took the proactive approach to try and change things up in a heartbeat by pushing the front door instantly, but Noble were just waiting. It seemed like just instant downs came through before Elevate could really enter the fight. Check this, 0-6 currently is Pushyz, and we're only 2 rounds in. KD-wise, it really isn't looking good across the board for Elevate, and difficult times for sure for this roster.
They're waiting for some life to be shown. We saw map number 1 just dominated by Noble in control. Map number 2, honestly, dominated yet again. 2 back-to-back maps where the momentum has just fallen over onto the side of Noble. I say fallen, but cratered down like a meteorite, just feet deep into the earth. That's how much motivation, that's how much momentum that Noble has on their side. And another 4 over for both of these teams. Fearzly going for the flank. He knows the player is there, at least I hope so, but he does not. That's going to be Gary getting first blood, and this is where they have the advantage. It's all about how you play your cards. Dyslexic goes down. Toti tries to make a play, but he's going to fall. Gary's going to try to backtrack. He needs to go across downtown to get the hill, but he does not. They want to solidify this hill. Solidify too with the positioning of the power weapon as well.
Yeah, this is their opportunity, Jacob, now to get into this game. They've won the initial, they've got the torque bow, they're rotating over, they've got the stronghold on the 2 hills. Question is, can they maintain this now? A little bit of a points lead is going to build, so the pressure is on Noble now to push this time. Kardia, can you make use of the torque bow as Fearzly did earlier?
Comes up the first one. Not going to get the connection. He's at least hoping for some splash damage. That'll let him know how close the player is. Fearzly almost getting that down. Great smoke, but even better torque bow through it as Kardia connects onto 1. Toti's trying to make the play. He doesn't even get scratched. He takes out 1. Kardia now forced to retreat. He's being hunted down by the main slayer himself. And even though some people might not look at Toti as the main slayer, he's taking the reins himself. He's looking at the rest of his team. I am the captain now as they're taking control of another round here, and a little coming back as well. 40 points is nothing to Noble.
No, absolutely not. With how fast they've been moving this game, Jacob, they can certainly get that back in a heartbeat, that's for sure. Toti as well, setting up over at the B hill now, and he's going to have reinforcements there. At a moment's notice, it seems like, as Fearzly is just behind. Meanwhile, Noble aren't done yet with their aggression. Dyslexic trying to push on that onto Addvers cover. Addvers says no, and now a 2v1 is left against Xploidz. It should be simple. 3 players for Elevate now. A little bit of a score lead still. They will lose it if things stay the same. But here they have a 2v1 opportunity now at the B hill too.
Back-to-back 2v1s. They win the one on the southern portion of the map to take over the neutral. 2v2 actually turning down at the top half of the map, making a 3v2 in a few seconds as long as this one extends. But both of those players are going to drop. Xploidz gets a melee, stagger him out, but he's going to get the reset. But that's all Noble is going to get as Elevate finally get their first round before the half. 2-1 though. 1 more round remaining in the half, but you got to think Noble's kind of saying to himself, no pasa nada, it's nothing to us. We still have a commanding lead. There's nothing you can do to slow us down.
Yeah, honestly, it was actually necessary as well for Elevate at some point to get that kind of round because they stacked up their kills quite a bit there. They've really brought their KDs back to something resembling a bit more neutral, and they can gain some confidence in themselves. Elevate can be a very aggressive team at times, and they need those shotgun fight victories under their belt at this point to just bring them back to neutral because they've been beaten down so hard on the 2 maps before this. It's really crucial, and now they've still got that team fight at the start on the B hill. They still need to win these fights on this end, regardless of your strategy, to open things up. Ooh, sneaky beaver. Look at that.
Say no big plays being made just yet. That's just because he was caught out. Dyslexic even gets downed out. Pushyz. That's a great 1-2 punch combo. They're bait and switching the damage to make sure they can solidify the kill without risking too much. Fearzly knows this 1v1's important. He is getting flanked. He gets taken down. Let's stagger that one out, but that's actually smart, though. They're getting that elimination because he would crawl towards the hill and get the break if he did not.
Yeah, that's for sure. Xploidz finds Addvers. Meanwhile, the fight continues elsewhere. Dyslexic, great shots, and will hold his shot for that guaranteed kill as his teammate comes off spawn and gets closer for this 2v1. Little bit of strafe onto the wall. Lovely from Dyslexic keeping his distance. And now the 2 cap for Noble as they press for the triple.
He's actually waiting for his teammates. He knows the damage was there. Toti going wide, taking the brunt of it. The bait and switch, absolutely perfect. Yet again, coming out of this squadron as Dyslexic goes in, gets that down onto Pushyz. Kardia trying to be the hero, but it doesn't matter in the end. Both of these players meet their demise, and Noble, just 1 step closer to a 3-0 shutout with a 3-1 lead before the half.
Yeah, great response, honestly, from Noble. Professionalism, right? To hold your own in such a way after that last loss. Doesn't seem like there was even a pause in gameplay, right? From their endless streaks of victories. It seems like many victories since this match started. New half, though, of course. We still haven't seen any other major weapon placement since that turbo placement over at the tank, but of course the hills will change over, so perhaps some attention now, or a bit more attention will be dedicated towards the helicopter for both teams.
And feel this one out because we've seen a lot of attention going over that torque and that's exactly the situation we thought Elevate needed. Something to focus on, something to fight for, and so far that hasn't been the case. They haven't been able to pull it together on this initials, or at least not convincingly, as they go ahead and try to threaten that tank fight this time around. Back-to-back flash is going to stun these players out, but it's not going to stop Addvers from getting first blood, even up by Pushyz, as the players are still staggering around. A lot of chaos going through. Kardia is going to drop it only for a short moment. The angle is going to be there from Toti as he tries to get that pure damage. That way Fearzly could try to go in, strike, and finish off these eliminations, and the downs are going to come through. So are these eliminations, and Noble plays it patient, and they are going to be rewarded for it. And Dyslexic back-to-back shots, a great shimmy shake to dodge the kill blow right back, and it looks like a triple cap. Domination is underway from Noble, barring any miracles coming out from Kardia and maybe Gary. This one is going to be over. A Twerk mode to connect back-to-back at that as Toti solidifies both of those eliminations, and he gets the hat trick, almost gets the hat trick if Spawn Shield wouldn't have robbed him blind. 4-1. Noble looking like they're smooth sailing to a victory.
That they are, just letting off turbo shots like it was nothing. A really cool round again from Noble to see. Just so comfortable, aren't they, in their play right now, making it look like a ranked match even though we're at a major. It's insane. It's so impressive to see. And 4-1 scoreline for Noble as well. It's business as usual, it seems like. I thought maybe we'd see something a little bit more unorthodox coming out from Elevate here on that previous round, rather than go for the old base strap between the two home hills in the second half. But no, everyone went all in on the Tortbow, and I'm curious to see now if they're going to continue this now with their match on the line.
It would have to be very careful, but this is the round they could possibly deploy a flank strategy out of Elevate. Both of these players grabbing that shot grenade, but it does look like Gary's going to take his time, try to get the free neutral. As soon as Noble realizes they have advantage on this side of the map, you will see an all-out offensive play go through, and that's already what you're seeing kind of go down. They take control of the back tank. Right shot grenade placed toward the back line. They get first blood. Back-to-back eliminations as Addvers is going to fall. Kardia is just trying to escape with his life, but you can already see Xploidz going wide, and they're chasing him down into the pit just to solidify that elimination.
They are not done yet. Fearzly still flying through the center. Xploidz in a 1v1 of his own elsewhere. Great shot over the top, making it look so easy. And Toti the top bow as well.
Easier than easy here, the way they have to control each and every one of these rounds. And in the moments as well, it doesn't look like Noble is backing down from any of these situations as Toti just trying to go ahead and connect with the torque bow. Get the information as well from the rest of your squad. Great spot out. As soon as you spot somebody from this far across the map, that's going to allow you to kind of know where their push is going to come from. You're going to have all the time in the world with the torque bow as soon as they go into those open pastures. And there goes the trade, which is going to be big. Fearzly gets shut down. This is the sign of life we need to see from Elevate.
It is. It most certainly is. They need these shotgun battles. They need to get back to their own selves, right? Oh, great play from Pushyz. A double for him. Dyslexic tries to read the up A around the other side in escape, but no, Pushyz not having any of it, just as his name would suggest in his playstyle there. Well played from him. Xploidz, a little bit quick to get down the staircase, but it's okay. His teammates are near for that quick revive.
Everybody on the side of Nova taking a chance, making some big plays, but Xploidz, he goes down. Nobody able to get that revive in time. That's going to be Toti. He's trying, but he gets crossed over the top, finished off by Pushyz. Dyslexic is going to fall. That's 3 players down, making a full-on squad wipe, but a triple cap domination as Elevate now wins their second round. But I almost got to ask the question, is it too late?
That's it. That's it. Are they capable of coming back 3 rounds in a row before Noble can win 1? They'll have to keep up their momentum for a little bit longer than that. But that's kind of just the gameplay you want to see, at least in that round, Jacob, right? You want to see Pushyz pinballing between covers and pushing the shotgun battles and finding success in it. That's the kind of confidence you need to see, because honestly, from map number 2, as we alluded to, perhaps they did just essentially give up after map number 1 and just thought, hey, let's just do it the craziest strats we can on Clocktower, try and defeat these. But instead, you kind of want to see the opposite of that, right? To suggest the confidence, the aggression from their usual selves. And right now, weapon placement wise, nothing drastic is going to change, so they're going to have to utilize that exact movement and play over at the tank here.
One player is over.
Ooh, look at
I
this.
think it's just plain sneak. I think he got spotted out though. There's no way. Okay.
Yeah, surely.
If Pushyz doesn't see him, boy, better get a glasses sponsorship, maybe some contacts, and try to figure it out from there. And Dyslexic, this is going to be a hard move for him because that's the retro player kind of staring him down. So he has to wait for a moment. Either that or get out. I was going to say, wait for a moment of chaos to go down towards the neutral. That'll force Pushyz to rotate over, but he has better plan. He said, you know what? Y'all want to stalemate? We'll just go ahead and take the lead.
Yeah, well sad. Here comes the push. The response from Elevate. They realize there's only 3 players in front of them, so they're going to go all in. It's a trade, essentially, of downs. The Lancer kill comes through for Xploidz. The revive. Gary's in a little bit of trouble in the middle cover. He has to be careful he doesn't get pushed on. Meanwhile, though, Kardia will follow up on Toti. It's opened up now for Elevate to try and make the final kills happen on this tank. Dyslexic's going to get angled out. Gary has to be careful. Yep, that's what I'm saying. You have to be careful of that push, especially when Noble are playing as well as they are. Pushyz, though, coming into his own again on the tank area. Gets one. Fearzly shuts him down, though, and Kardia will fall thereafter.
And that's what I always talk about. Toti is always finding a way to put a few % down. And you know in Gears of War as well as I do, and I'm sure everybody watching this one, how close those battles can be. You can lose by 1% up until I think like 17% to where it really does get that close. So that extra fire that the teammates, specifically Toti, are putting out are just really make or break in a lot of these exchanges as they chase down another player. From Torpo to support, Toti eliminates 2, bleeding 1 down. And this is where I always talk about they actually don't get that down. A player gets taken out, and 2 players will survive and make it 1, though, as Toti returns to the scene of the crime to take out Addvers with that torque bow. This match is only 4 points of separation in this round as Elevate are looking to come back.
Great stick from Toti. Like Fearzly earlier, Noble are just on point with their power weapon plays. Pushyz will fall, get angled out from the side by Dyslexic. And here comes the reinforcements to ensure the double cap will come on through. Win condition will firmly be in the way of Noble now. Xploidz with the incend as well to defend this push. Nice little bait from Addvers as he rolls back. But now they have to do a little bit more to find these kills.
I like how he's just hopping up onto that cover to try and retreat. Knows the push is coming through, but he actually goes back down, and it cost him his life. The players of Elevate were able to regroup together, but Dyslexic knows the scoreline is so close right now. He needs to be able to stretch through. Toti puts that torque bow to use yet again, and that's honestly great usage out of that torque bow. Such high efficiency out of Toti. He's a star player, so you wouldn't think otherwise. Dyslexic nails down elimination onto Addvers on the home hill. They have to contest him, and he gets another one. Dyslexic takes out Geary. He has the backup of Toti, and it looks like they're just solidify that hill, solidify the round, and solidify a 3-0 shutout over Elevate.
What about that movement from Dyslexic in the end there? We were barely talking about him all game. It was kind of his teammates we're talking about, and then the team in general. But that was just some incredible movement from him to finish off in style. You mentioned Toti, 15-7 in the end from him, and an all-round very, very good performance from Noble. Business as usual, I think of when I describe that series. Noble are currently on fire and handling their matches very well.
Yeah, I thought, you say business as usual. I think you'd be a fool to kind of bet against Noble. But man, I'm kind of like just shaking my head thinking, really disappointed. I didn't even get to eat my banana that's just sitting here waiting, man. Elevate just got crushed. Honestly, I think they can agree with that. Was a pathetic performance out of them, a huge shell of themselves. And that on the side of Noble, that's not the matchup you wanted in pool play. You probably wanted a little bit of a tougher match to really get yourself warmed up. But guess what? You don't get it. You get nothing.
Yeah, I'd
Only
have
a
to
victory.
agree. Yeah, exactly. And I think, honestly, that the first 2 maps were as good as Elevate could really have hoped for. So there's not really any complaints there as to the pick and ban process. It was kind of really good for them, if anything. Especially to have the first 2 strong maps on the first half, but instead, I mean, Noble just made it look easy. There was no really reason on Clocktower for a lot of the strats that came out from Elevate. Kardia constantly flanking and whatnot, and throwing the frags up top. It was really confusing for us. I think we can both say as to how they played that map. And the first map, of course, like we just saw in the third map as well, it was absolute domination. Really. From the get-go, and I think they'll have to ask themselves questions at this point. Elevate now, after a concerning performance as well in the match earlier. I believe they won 3-2 in the end against Fury, a non-Pro League team. Elevate need to do a bit better now. Yes, they played against Noble, but they do need to do better because that was certainly not the kind of performance they want even against Noble.
And you saw little moments here and there. You really did see the moments right there with Addvers a while ago. Pushyz with a big double kill to kind of cement around. But this game, Gears of War 5 is at a stage to where those single individual heroics mean absolutely nothing in the big picture of things. You need to be able to work together as a full cohesive unit. And I think Noble has really solidified that. And they've upped their game since the last time we've seen them in a major finals. And that's surprisingly to say. And that's why I think we've been talking about just like less and less. It's nothing on him. And actually, it's a very, very great and positive thing along with Toti. It's because his teammates are now getting that shine. Xploidz and Fearzly being that player to watch, they are stepping up and knocking it out of the park. Home run after home run. But that was a short match, so hopefully I get some time to eat my banana after this next one. We're going to let the analysts kind of break that one down and kind of figure out what really went wrong for Elevate.